Hello and welcome to the channel. Now today we'll be looking at this guy, Neca's release of the Feral Predator based off the movie Prey. I'm just going to give you a quick close-up of the face, and that's pretty much the section we're going to cover first. But when I first got this figure, what I was doing was actually putting him into combat poses fighting my Neca alien. So if you tuned into the channel and scroll through the channel, you would see that. But what we're going to do is look at things like this, which is the shield device he uses to protect him from bullets and other things. And I don't normally pose him with that. I normally pose him with that shield thing there. And we'll be looking at those mandibles, all those hands, and I might stick the shield back on or the helmet back on, but we're going to look at the face first. And at the moment the figure is being posed with his fighting fists on. I'll give you a close-up on that. And I've never posed him with those fighting fists. But this figure is the first Predator I've got with a magnetized body, so any weapons he has, you can just stick them on there without having to worry about clipping them on. So let's change out those jaws just to show you what that looks like. So coming in close, when you first see him, the mouth is closed, but I've put in the other jaws, and as you can see, they're starting to open up. You see a bit more of that throat, like that. And with this one, his dreads appear to be a lot longer than your standard Predator. But if you tuned into my review on the Alpha Predator, that Predator has even longer dreads. And I quite like that. He's still got his fighting fists in. What I'm going to show you next is the jaws fully extended. So coming in close, these are the final set of jaws you get with the figure, and you can see how wide he can extend his mouth. Good detail in there. He's got the white eyes, a bit different from the standard Predator, and like the Alpha Predator who had red eyes, he's a bit different from all the rest. He's got his own unique style. In fact, that face reminds me a bit of the Adrian Brody movie, where the mercenaries and the criminals are stuck on this planet and they're being hunted by 3 predators, and at the end of the film, when Adrian Brody's character kills that predator, it had a face similar to this. So we're going to now change out the hands from the fighting fists and just bring in a bit of pose in, just to show you some articulation. Nice figure. So I've put in the other gesture hands, changed the pose a little bit, and try to create a bit of movement there in that pose. I like that. Now, when I first saw Prey, I wasn't sure what direction it was going, and it's set in the 1700s, and there's a group of Native American Indians living a very quiet life, and then this creature comes into their lives, and there's a woman who's the kind of Ripley of the film, who begins to understand that there's something going on in the forest other than bears, wolves and snakes. Eventually she comes across him, and she has to go up against him and his technology using weapons from her culture. I thought that was a very clever idea, and I was a bit sad that they didn't follow it up. So what I'm going to do now is change out those hands and show you the gripping hands. I'll probably put a weapon in there and change out the pose. So let's look at that gripping hand there. And he's holding the pistol you see in the film, which is a weapon you can attach on the back, and because the figure is magnetized, you doesn't have to clip that weapon onto the back, it just sticks there. And I do like that. And I always imagined, because when the credits rolled up, you see the arrival of more feral predators, that you would get the whole tribe involved in fighting against them in a fight for survival. But it didn't happen. What we got instead was Badlands. And I'll say no more about that, because on my other reviews of Predators I have talked about Badlands. But that's nice. So I'm going to change out that other gesture hand and keep that weapon on him. So I put in the other gripping hand, and I'll just show you that weapon, which is kind of the equivalent of the javelin spear that you see on the other Predators, and that does extend out. Nice, 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 nice. So with this guy, I think, I presume he's from Yucha Prime, which is the homeworld of the Predators. And I don't know if he's been genetically enhanced or anything like that, because of the time period he appears in the film. But I get the impression, just like human beings, this is a planet full of Yuchas or predators, but they've got different looks to them. Whether or not they all get on, I suspect they don't, because you do see that where, like, the assassin predator tries to kill the fugitive predator, and on Predators with Adrian Brody, you get your standard predator being captured by a different kind of predator. So it's a mystery, that one, but I'm going to show that weapon in combat mode. That's javelin spear, just to show you what that looks like. So there you go. That weapon, just like the weapons the other Predators has, automatically extends out. And in the film you see him using that, but that weapon can be used in another way, which I'm going to show you right now. And that's what that weapon can do, and you do see that in the film. It can come apart and you can use it as two individual pieces, and he does some serious damage with that weapon once he gets going. I've also changed out the jaws again so it's not so intense, but it's a personal choice about how you want to pose the face when you're posing him with weapons. But that's what that weapon can do. Now the next set of hands are going to be a bit tricky, because I've looked at them and I'm thinking to myself, well, in the film, do I recognise those hands and what he does with them in the film? But I'm going to find my own pose for them. Let's hope it doesn't look too geeky or nerdy. But yeah, those are the gripping hands of that weapon. like that. Okay, I'll probably do one more actually. I'll put that weapon together as one piece and show you what it looks like when he's holding it with both hands. So there you go. You can create that pose. I've tilted his head slightly to give him a bit of attitude. But it's a personal choice again whether you can pose it as one weapon or two weapons. Widened his stance, trying to demonstrate the kind of articulation of the figure. But I'm very rarely posing without the helmet, because I do think the helmet is cool. And I'll actually keep this pose and I'll just stick the helmet on to show you what I mean. Okay, let's put the helmet on. See what I mean? I think that helmet is really cool, and the good thing about it, a bit like my Alpha Predator, you don't have to change out the head, you just have to clip the helmet onto the figure. And one of the things I liked about the movie was that look. But like the other Predators, when you got dreads like that, you've got to kind of sort them out a bit. This isn't the best look, but you've got to sort them out a bit because they can look a bit crazy. But it's a choice about keeping the helmet on, and I tend to keep his helmet on. But looking at the different looks he has without the helmet, it's easily tempting to leave it off. But we see him in the film looking this way for the most part. We don't get to see the face until towards the end of the movie. So I'm going to take that helmet off and get the other hands on and see what we can come up with. So this is a bit tricky now because I've been trying to work out that hand there you've seen before, but this hand here, see that very tiny hole, tiny small hole there. Now I think it's just a gesture hand. I don't think it's meant to hold any weapons. So I'm going to see if I can come up with a decent pose, because this is a pose that is not really doing it for me. So I'll just see if I can come up with a decent pose to use that hand, because to me it seems a bit pointless, but we'll see what we can come up with. This is the best I can do. I never see him do this in the movie, but there's a very small cavity in that hand, so if you're very careful you can get him gripping his helmet. Whether or not that is what it's for, I wouldn't have a Scooby-Doo, but it is possible. I just got him looking down at the thing, but I just haven't got a clue. But what I like to do is just play about a bit, have a bit of fun, and try and create something that is going to be interesting to look at. And that's not too bad considering I've just worked this one out. In fact, let me get a different angle. Yeah, so we can actually, by coming close, grip the thing. But I wouldn't say that's the truth of it. I wouldn't say that's the reason those hands came with a figure. So let's take that hand out and I'll show you the other one, which is a bit of a mystery to me. Okay, let's try that other hand. So that's the other hand, and I didn't have a Scooby-Doo what to do with it. So this has just come into my head, and this is the alien snake. And that's the only thing that fits in that narrow, pardon me, cavity. So if you wanted to do that, you could. And the only accessory I have from the alien that I have, the Neca alien, is my face hugger, so I'm going to try that. But first I'm going to put the helmet on just to see what that looks like. So yeah, I'm kind of getting to like it now, because I really didn't have a clue what that was going to do, that hand, but you can do things like that. And we do know that the predators do hunt xenomorphs, aka aliens. So I'm going to try it with the face hugger, see if that looks any good. Right then, let's get that on camera. Yeah, I do like that as well. Sometimes I surprise myself. So yeah, you can do things like this. Alien snake or face hugger. You could bite the head off that thing and it wouldn't bother him. Yeah, I'm going to put the helmet on just to see what that looks like. But I do like that because I didn't have a clue what that hand was for. So let's try that. So again, he looks cool with the helmet and he looks cool without it. And I do like that. And if you wanted to get the jaws to be closed, you could do that. Or you could have them halfway open, or you can have them fully extended like I've got here. But it's a personal choice. But I like that. Never posed him with the alien snake or the face hugger, but it could well be a pose I do so it can go back into the section. Because when you saw him on the review before, he's fully kitted out with all his weapons, but I think sometimes less is more. And I certainly like the look of this. I wish I had a hand. Well, actually I could do it, you know I could do it. I could get another gripping hand on the other side of the figure and have him holding both the snake and the her face hugger. Let me see if we can have a go at it. You never know, it's worth a try. You know, I do like that. I really do like that. Managed to pull it off. Let's get a bird's eye view. And yeah, never thought of these things until a moment ago. I'm going to tilt his head down just because I want to get that on camera. But that's a pose I would use, definitely. Yeah. I like it with his head tilted up, actually, like he's roaring to the skies, as if to say, I'm a badass. But yeah, I'm put the helmet on just to get that look. But I certainly never imagined this until up to a moment ago. And that's why I have the posing channel, so I can think up things and make my collection interesting to look at rather than having them just standing there in a display. You want to make it interesting, you want to interact with your collection, and for me, that's what the channel's about. You may disagree, but I like doing this sort of stuff. Let's put that helmet on. So there's the helmet. Let's get a close-up. Let's get them both in frame. That's nice. Right, I've only got one more hand that came with the figure. I'm going to figure out what to do with it because, again, it's a bit of a mystery for me. But based on what I've just done here, I'm pretty happy. So let's try try out the last hand before we end the review. Nice pose. Could well be the one to put back in the Predator display. Well, I'm beginning to enjoy this review. I mean, I'm thinking of some crazy stuff, but I actually like that. That works. Because that is the last hand that came with a figure, and I thought, you know what? You can imagine him biting the head off that thing. And I do like that. So now I know now what to do with those hand accessories that I didn't have a clue about. And I like that. Biting the head off that alien snake. And it works. For me it works anyway. I don't know what you guys think, but you know what? It could well be the pose that goes in to the Predator section. I'm going to put that helmet on, but I prefer it with the helmet off, I have to say. But let's have a look at that. There you go. Definitely for me, it's the helmet off, because you've got to see those eyes, but it's still good. I really like it. I think it's my favourite, to be honest. So that's what you can do with him, because he hasn't got loads of weapons posed out with him like I did on the last review of him. So if you find yourself wanting to keep it simple, there's a few ideas for you. I do like that. So I'm going to end the review now with one more pose, and then we'll call it a day. This has been a long one, but it's been worth it, because now I've got a lot of information stored in my memory banks for future reference. Okay, let's get the last pose out before I say adios. So that's the last pose. I'm going to take the helmet off for the last shot, but I've got him with that combat shield in, the javelin spear, and of course the iconic, what I call, claw knives. But I've enjoyed this, especially the last two poses, which I'm seriously considering using for the display. So let's take the helmet off and call it a day. Right then. So there you have it, folks. This is the end of the review on Neca's release of the Feral Predator, posed out with the combat shield in non-stealth mode, his javelin spear in combat mode, and his claw knives. And I've enjoyed this. Now I've got Fugitive Predator to cover, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bother really, because he doesn't come with, well, he doesn't come with any accessories. He comes with a pair of arms without gauntlets. But I've posed him out in the past and he's good to look at, but I've covered the main ones. But if I do change out his pose, Fugitive Predator's pose, I will film that. So when it comes to the Christmas tour, you'll see the whole of that section posed out. So on that note, I'll say thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you again next time.